Hello, Christina Giordano here, the founder of Sold, your go-to resource for soulful entrepreneurship. And my philosophy is this: people can no longer be sold to, they must be sold to. That is SOUL''D. However, in order to sell with soul, you need to be sold on you first. Again, this is Christina Giordano, and just as a reminder, these video previews are simply previews of the full episodes that are available on my podcast, which is Sold by Christina Giordano, and you can find it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Today's episode is called Becoming Sold: How Healing My Inner World Changed My Outer World. Now, this conversation was inspired by another conversation I had last week with another podcaster named Ainav Avni of Healing Conversations. I will actually tag her in a comment here. But this conversation inspired this podcast because it was heavily talking about healing, which is something that me, myself, and I, a marketing consultant, don't really get to talk about. But when you're marketing with the souled approach, or even manifesting with the souled approach, you are, in a way, healing yourself. It can be an incredibly healing experience to take the souled approach. And the essence of our conversation was that healing isn't about fixing yourself. It's not about staying high vibe. Healing happens when you stop abandoning yourself. It's about removing everything that isn't you so that you can become and move as the person that you know that you are. It's essence-led versus ego-led, which is really the root of the souled approach. Now, becoming souled is the process of living from your essence versus your survival patterns. And for me, even though souled is my brand, I truly believe, in a way, that I myself have become sold, SOUL''D, sold on me, and sold in my business, sold in everything that I value and believe in. And so it's really about integrity, having integrity in everything that you do. And when you're moving in integrity, you're also moving in something called internal coherence. And this is where the healing really happens, because your nervous system, which is responsible for much of your healing, it doesn't respond to intentions. It doesn't respond to a never-ending list of affirmations. It responds to consistency. It responds to you moving in consistency, and it responds to you having the internal consistency to maintain integrity at all times. Now, I just want to start by saying this. My journey up to this point had nothing to do with fixing myself. It had nothing to do with becoming better. It was only ever about becoming truer. And in this week's episode, I'm talking about all of the ways that once my inner world changed, my outer world started to reflect that change as well. And I'm going to walk through all of them. But first, I want to express what I've learned from this experience. It's that healing happens when you stop abandoning yourself. And everything I teach inside Souled always comes back to that truth. So again, you can listen to the full episode on my podcast on either Spotify or Apple Podcasts. But let's turn now to what I noticed as I stopped abandoning myself. So the first two are internal. They're things that were related to my internal world. So the first is my body. My body softened. It stopped resisting. It started moving based on resonance, not force. And this is primarily because I stopped forcing it. I stopped overriding myself for the sake of willpower. I stopped maintaining discipline and instead worked on having and sustaining devotion. And I stopped following a routine and instead followed a rhythm. So my body softened because I stopped forcing myself through what wasn't true for me. Now, my nervous system didn't need motivation anymore. It just needed permission to be honest. So internal consistency had replaced that constant feeling of anxiety and drama and collapse. And when I started to show up honestly and in alignment and in integrity, I began to feel more coherence. And so now let's quickly talk about how my outer world began to reorganize itself. because when you become more essence-led, when you start to lead from your truth, your outer world starts to reflect that truth. And that's where the universe essentially meets you. So the first thing is that relationships that required self-betrayal, they all fell away. So any relationship that asked me to be someone I wasn't, any relationship that was complicated or rooted in something that just made me feel like I had to show up as a different person for that relationship, it either dissolved without drama or just became less complicated. So the relationships that weren't rising to meet me where I was energetically simply fell away. The second is decisions became clearer, faster, cleaner. So as I was making decisions day in and day out, I instantly felt what was aligned for me and what wasn't. So this was just about having solid clarity and locking into that clarity. The next one is money stopped feeling chaotic and started feeling responsive. So my finances shifted into something manageable and in a state of constant growth. I was able to afford what I needed and what I wanted over time, and I was starting to build internal capacity because of internal consistency. The next one is one of my favorites. Parenting became easier, and I felt like I had more control of myself as a leader, as a parent. So maintaining a peaceful and calm household became the standard, and because of that, my kids became more obedient and respectful. Not out of force, but because energetically I could tell that they felt safer being led by me. So that's an entirely different relationship dynamic between parent and child when you're being obedient out of fear versus when you're being obedient out of respect. And I could instantly see this difference. I could tell that we were having stronger and truer conversations. I could tell that insights that I was making and modeling that I was demonstrating was landing within them in a more clean and clear way. And I could also tell that they could trust me more. So this, even though this is all related to the business field, skills transfer. And this was one of the examples where it absolutely did. And then finally, referring back to my business became easier, and my business stopped feeling like pressure and started feeling like expression. So I started to love showing up for my business. I loved being visible. Every opportunity that came my way, I instantly felt whether it was right or wrong. And I followed through accordingly. And it got to a point where I started to qualify people versus just opening the door for anyone. So the people who wanted one-to-one access with me, I had to qualify them. I had to make sure that they were the right fit for this type of work versus me being in a position where I'm just like, sure, I'm here, I'm open. Like, that's not at all what happens anymore. And then finally, my time, energy, and effort were all essentially synchronized, which created this steady sensation of calm and peace. So that's basically how I know I'm in coherence, is when I do genuinely feel that sensation of calm and peace. So this is important to note. Alignment isn't a mindset. It's a physiological state. It's a standard. Your body knows when you are living a lie, and it knows when you are living in truth. And the souled approach not only helps you understand what is aligned for you, it helps you expand, it helps you become the expansive version of you and stabilize into that. Now, because souled in general is something that I want the masses to understand, especially the people who are soulpreneurs. They have my heart because they have a calling. They believe that their soul path and their career path are intertwined. And they are the ones helping people transform, helping them achieve greatness, and healing people. And so their work, the way that they market themselves, needs to be different from the old paradigm approach that we've all learned. And the souled approach helps them do that. But a lot of them, I've noticed, start by feeling stuck. And this is kind of where I want to gently disrupt something. There's currently, in my opinion, an epidemic of stuckness, within the entrepreneurial communities, particularly those who are within the spiritual entrepreneurial communities. And part of this is because they've subscribed to an outdated paradigm of marketing. But there's another part of this that's much deeper than that, and it comes from three potential situations. So many people are living in a perpetual state of trying to fix themselves and heal themselves so that they can finally arrive and then start moving. You don't arrive at your truth, you journey with it. It's all a journey. There's no arrival point. Number two, many people have intellectualized healing so much that they have forgotten that healing is not a fundamentally intellectual process. It's a relational process where you prioritize your healing around how you relate to yourself, to your truth. And then finally, number three, many people, and I hate to say this, but many people are not radically honest about their lives. They are not radically honest with themselves about personal integrity, personal responsibility, and capacity. They are still in essentially performance mode and not yet accepting anything close to truth. Now, obviously, all of these situations, these three situations, can create that feeling of stuckness, but they all stem from one common root. Most people are trying to heal, to build businesses, to build their desired lives, while also continuing to live in ways that contradict that truth. So they may meditate, they may journal, they may do all of the rituals, but they keep saying yes when their body says no. They keep overriding themselves. They keep overgiving. They keep performing alignment rather than living it. So again, healing happens when you stop abandoning yourself. That's not just belief, it's biology. And the souled approach is one of the ways to get there. And I just want to quickly run through ways that you can start to understand the souled approach and integrate it into your life. So if this is singing to you, if you're like, yes, I completely resonate with everything that you're saying, here are a couple ways that you can start to either enter into my world of souled or take a deeper dive into it. So the first is the ebook. This is new. This is an entry point. This is a 100-page ebook with workbooks and integrative prompts featuring both the marketing methods, so the full methodologies, and the manifesting methods. Again, full methodologies. They are both journeys of self-discovery. It's for resonance and orientation. The next two options are online programs and memberships for both the marketing methods and the manifesting methods. Now, the marketing methods online program and membership is essentially for people who are wanting to build the structure. You want to build the business strategy, you want to build your marketing strategy, you want to learn how to express yourself authentically. The manifesting methods, again, is an online program and membership. This is for those who want to repair the receiver. They want to repair their capacity. They want to be able to hold more. They want to be able to call in what they want. They want to be able to move as their most expansive self and stabilize into that self. So those are both essentially online programs. So they're self-study programs with memberships that include a community call with me once a month for both. Now, if you wanted to take a deeper dive into Sold, I have two one-to-one offerings. The first is the meetup, which is just a 90-minute one-to-one. This is where you come with whatever it is that you want to work on in particular, and we dive in together. And we make decisions, we create aligned actions. People walk away from this one-to-one with pages of next steps. The next is the mentorship, and this is a 3-month one-to-one container. This is where I walk with you. I hold your hand through both the marketing methods and the manifesting methods. We walk through it together. I sprinkle in some strategy sessions here and there. And so for those entire 3 months, you have me as your guide, walking you through the methods, doing them together, creating plans, creating action, creating strategy, so that you can walk out of this feeling like your most expansive self. So these are the ways that you can start to experience Sold. Again, all at different price points and accessibility to me. But the first step that I hope that you will take is to go listen to the full episode of this podcast. Again, you can find it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and it's Sold, SOUL''D, with Christina Giordano. And until next time, be well and take care.